All right, I'm going to get us rolling here. I'm going to keep admitting people from the waiting room. Admit all. Any Zoom experts know if I can just make it so that now everybody can come in and I don't have to do it myself? All right. Okay.
I was just going to suggest perhaps if you go to the little participants options, there might be setting you could change there.
It's all good. I'll multitask, which is not part of this, guys. Don't do it. Just do my best. I'm a one-lady show here today, so it's what we all gotta do. So thanks so much for being here. If you're just coming in, please say hello in the chat. Let us know where you're from. What are you excited about this week? And again, not again, I haven't introduced myself properly, so I will do it. My name is Asia. I am a momentum coach. I live here in Santa Fe, New Mexico, and I moved here about 5.5 years ago from Brooklyn. So I've been all over the place, and I'm just so grateful you all are here. So, just like give yourself a pat on the back, way to be here today, taking some time out of your day to be here and to be open for new ideas and ready for some growth. So I'm excited for that and for all of you all. We're living in really weird times right now, and I've got so many great questions from you in the Eventbrite registration. So thank you so much for that. And what I've heard from a lot of you is that a lot of your challenges around productivity and efficiency at the moment are around juggling different responsibilities, working from home, staying focused, maintaining a balance between all of those different things that are going on. And, even though everything's so crazy, I think it's a really great time for introspection, for experimenting, for reflecting, and really looking for that growth and course shifting and just really kind of getting realigned with our values. So today I'm going to share some tools and systems and strategies that I personally use, that I use with clients. And these are things that I think can help us live with greater efficiency. And I might also bring up some things that are a little bit hard to hear, but just stay open and receptive and kind of dig into that discomfort a little bit, because that is how we grow. So if you weren't here earlier, I just want to remind you that it's going to be pretty interactive today, or at least there'll be the opportunity for that for you if you want. So both in the chat, but also have a pen and paper handy, because there might be some opportunities for you to jot some stuff down. And again, I am just here on my own, womaning, ladying everything here on my own here. So I'm probably not going to answer too many questions during the presentation, but we are going to have plenty of time for Q&A at the end. So with that being said, we're going to roll right into it. Let's all take a nice big deep breath. And we will do this thing. All right, am I sharing the wrong screen? Okay, sorry, technology. It's the internet, I think, is slow. Okay, no, stop it. Oh my gosh, it's me. Okay. There we go. Are you guys seeing my presentation?
Yep.
Yes,
Yep.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, so, all right, that's me. I'm Asia. I am a recovering perfectionist and accomplished overachiever. So I've had a growing up, a very academically overachieving lifestyle, I guess you could say, that definitely carried over into my adult life. Until I really realized after burning out and getting kind of just stressed all the time that I had to sort of change how I was living my life essentially. Productivity and efficiency come somewhat natural to me, but it's partially, I think, because I've always worked multiple jobs, or I've been self-employed in some fashion. And so I've had to kind of experiment and refine what it was that how I approached getting things done. I really enjoy looking at the big picture and breaking it down into chunks and taking those chunks and organizing them into systems and strategies. Like that's something that gives me weird pleasure. Like last year I made a Gantt chart for my life, which was mostly a silly activity, but it was a fun and kind of insane thing to do. This is just a thing that I enjoy talking about. So I'm glad you're all here today. I'm also multi-passionate, multi-potentialite. I have had a career path that has taken me through culinary arts. I've worked as a private chef and worked in catering. I have founded a nonprofit. I've worked at a sustainability nonprofit doing project management. I've coordinated events. I work right now part-time in human resources in hospitality. And I am a sponge. I take in so much information. I love learning about all kinds of different things. When it comes to this sort of productivity topic, like I've read lots of books, I've read the articles, all those like clickbaity things that are like 10 new things to like, banish your to-do list forever. I'm like, tell me more. So that is where I'm coming from, both professionally and personally. And even my coaching work as momentum coach, I work with ambitious people to essentially like reach their goals. And so I do that through financial wellness. I am also a certified personal trainer and a running coach. And I work just on accountability coaching to be that touch point for people and to help strategize and create solutions around the goals and challenges that people are experiencing. So that is, I think that like great achievements take a lot of support. And so that's one of the things that I offer. I've been working as a coach for a couple of years, and I've partnered here with Ladies Get Paid. I've also partnered with General Assembly. I've been featured in Refinery 29, and I've worked with lots of small businesses and individuals as well. And for me, it's been really exciting to find something from a career perspective that I enjoy as much as I enjoy doing this coaching, because as I said, I have done a lot of different things. So here's what we're going to cover today. So again, this is interactive. Keep your pen and paper handy. We are, I'm going to throw a lot of stuff out there. And the key is really to try to try to find something that appeals to you and seems like a good fit to your personality, your lifestyle, and your current needs. And you can bookmark the other stuff for later. So we're going to be talking about doing the work. So this is, we're going to be talking about procrastination and motivation, organization. We're going to be talking about getting it out. So like how to get all of that brain swirl that's happening that we all have, and how to get it out and how to organize that, that just mush of stuff. Energy management. So I know this is a big one all the time, but also right now I think it's especially important. And the systems and strategies that we can implement and utilize to help us with all of this other stuff. So we're going to review some to-do lists, prioritization matrices, and some other tips that you can implement. And then kind of talk about how we can move forward. And so we'll do some Q&A as well at the end. If there's any of these like areas that challenge you the most, I'd be really curious to hear it. You can just drop that in the chat. But a lot of the words that I saw in your questions were around prioritization, focusing, distractions, working from home, and maintaining that work and personal balance. So what does productivity mean to you? Are you working on developing productivity skills around work stuff, home things, personal goals, or something else? I mean, you could drop that in the chat as well. One of the challenges around productivity is that we live in a very striving-centric culture. we are obsessed with efficiency and productivity. And so, yes, I am talking about that, but I am talking about it from a slightly different perspective, from the perspective of intention and mindfulness, and really holding true to your values, and not just, we have to be really careful about productivity for its own sake. One of the things that I think is really interesting to think about is the idea of knowledge work versus manual work. Back in the olden times, and also work that many of us still do, a lot of manual work. It's like, you go to work, you do your job, and when it's done, it's done. So if you get it done in 2 hours, great. If you get it done in 5 hours, that's just how long it took. Having spent so much time in kitchens, that was very much the nature of the work that I did. And knowledge work, which is what, work, for those of us who work in office or in a more, sort of white collar situation, the work never ends. It's always going on in the background. You can be thinking about your work when you're not doing it. It's not as easily contained. And so productivity to me is partially talking about, what are you actually trying to do? We have to, be able to define that as closely as we can. And when we talk about productivity in a bigger sort of way, thinking about what, like, watching out for like falling into that trap of maximizing. I do this, and I, like, I'm catching myself doing it all the time. Of that feeling of like, oh, like, I gotta make the most of the day, or of the week or the month, and jam pack as much as possible. I'm going to stay up all night and do XYZ things. But productivity for its own sake triggers this part of our brain that assumes that all productivity is equal. Like, doing anything that like ticks a box or has a completion point is, as has the same standing, and that's not the case. So I think as women, we are especially susceptible to this. We definitely hold a certain amount of self-worth in what we're able to accomplish in a certain amount of time. But my partner just told me this quote, or this idea of like, the difference between a robot and what a robot can do and what a human can do is that a human can tell you what is meaningful. And so ultimately, like, you need to find the balance between what you want and what your vision of success is, and what that finish line is. So being able to define and understand what is meaningful will go a long way. But all that said, like, stuff still has to get done. So whether it's like tasks we hate to do, or things that we're excited to do, tackling those tasks strategically within a system, to make the priorities more clear, to better sort out the junk, and to give all those to-dos a structure. Doing those within a system and doing it consistently is going to help us to develop habits and more ease, in these processes. So, like, sadly, there is no magic pill or no one-fits-all solution, but because you have to do the work, and you have to experiment, and you have to adapt. But it's always going to be some sort of work that needs to get done. So what I'd really like, for you to be aware of, and the thing that I feel most like walk away with this, okay, is productivity as a practice. So if you have experience like learning a language, playing sports, learning an instrument, doing yoga or meditation, this word of, the idea of practice is something that you're familiar with. But practice is not something that we necessarily take into different aspects of our life. But it takes at least 60 to 100 days to make meaningful change, to develop new habits. And everyone goes at a different speed, and that may, so what you may do may differ from what others do, and what you might expect of others might not match with what they're capable of or what is possible for them. So, so how do we get better at anything? Like, we have to practice. However, we do a lot of practicing of things that don't serve us. We practice procrastination. We practice avoiding hard things. We practice disorganization. We practice being uncertain about what to do next. And so we're really good at those things that don't serve us. So we have to overcome even more discomfort to get to a place where we can be feeling at least moderately good at those things that are going to be serving us better. How does that practice of procrastination, disorganization, how does consistently practicing those things set you up? If you want to admit anything that you've been practicing, feel free to put that in the chat. So when we talk about productivity as a practice, we are talking about committing to improving, to breaking the cycle of that disorganization, that procrastination, the not knowing how to prioritize. We're going to embrace our curiosity. We're going to play and we're going to experiment with different ideas and solutions. We want to be intentional. So intentional from a productivity standpoint can look lots of different ways, but an intention could be as simple as putting your clothes out the night before if you're going to go for a run in the morning, or it could be setting up your meditation circle, or your meditation spot in the evening before you go to bed. There's lots of different ways that you can practice intention. Cultivating consistency. This is something I talk a lot about with my clients, because anything that we are consistently putting our attention to, consistently putting our action to, consistently putting our intention to, we are going to get better at. We are going to develop more ease, less anxiety about, and we are going to become more comfortable with. So cultivating consistency is super important. Build your toolbox. So hopefully there's something here today that works for you and you can take it and try it. And you might have tools that you already have that work for you, or things that you learn elsewhere on your journey. Like, be open to what is possible and what might work for you. And ultimately, like, embrace the work and embrace the journey. So this is part of practicing compassion for yourself, is knowing that some days are going to be harder than others, knowing that some stuff's not going to work, and you're going to have to try a different system or a different tool, or a different strategy, a different approach. But embrace that that's part of the journey too. When we are doing hard things, it's not hard every day and it's not easy every day, but it does get easier and it does get better as you move along. And ultimately, rest. Like, rest is so important. And in any training journey, you have to take a day off. So if you, again, if you play sports or anything like that, like, you have to take a day off. But a day off doesn't have to be a day of doing nothing, but it should have intention. So, it might be a day where you don't have a schedule, where you don't strive for a specific outcome. I'm not always very skilled at taking time off on the weekends. So I have to tell myself I am doing active relaxation. Because there's no prize for burning out, right? Like, if we burn out because we never stop to take a break, a true break, then we don't win for that, right? So, it's also really important that we don't always notice the progress that we are making, because it often is slow. It often is very small increments. And also because we're not always close enough to where we're trying to go. So it feels like we haven't gotten anywhere. We're trying to get over here, and maybe we're here, we've been moving very slowly along, and we're not always seeing that we're getting closer along the way. And that is one of the things that I really appreciate being a part of the journey with my clients, because I had a client this morning who has started running for the first time about 6 weeks ago, and I asked her, how she felt differently mentally or physically over these past 6 weeks, and she felt like she didn't notice a difference. But I've been observing her and I can see that she's been improving, but she's not necessarily noticing what I see. So so it could be that she's able to run a little bit faster or can go out for a little bit longer. With some other clients, it could be that they can check their bank accounts with less anxiety, or that they've found a little bit more rhythm in what they're doing. So all that to say, from a practice perspective, when you are showing up and doing the work consistently, you continue to make that small and steady progress that will help you get to where you need to go. All right, y'all. Managing your energy. So this is so important, and and I think we'll probably wind up talking about this more in the Q&A, but here's a couple things that I want to like get out of the way right at the top here. So I hear a lot of people talk about motivation, including myself and clients, and some questions that I got here. The reality is that we are not going to be motivated to do the things we want to do all the time, or, you know, and we're especially not going to be motivated to do the things we don't want to do ever. So we need to just set aside that motivation is a key factor in getting things done. It's great when we feel motivated and excited and energized towards a certain activity or a task, but we cannot depend on that, that being the case. The other thing is that it has been shown that we only have about 4 hours of truly productive work time a day, which is kind of gut-wrenching, but it is true. The more I like try to observe myself and my own energy, the more I realize that that is the case. And maybe it's also like the older I get, the more I realize that's the case as well. So around managing our energy, you know, we talk about efficiency from this perspective, because efficiency is all about doing whatever the thing is with the least waste of time or energy or any other resource. So we need to consider what's most important, and again, like define that success point, that finish line, and what are our distractions? What are the things that take away our energy? So setting boundaries is really important. So I like to think about boundaries as what you can commit to versus what you can achieve. So this can take this can look lots of different ways. It could be about saying no, it could be about getting clarity on something that's been assigned to you. It could be clarifying what you expect of yourself and what others expect of you. It could be that you only do certain activities during certain times of the day, or when you're available for certain types of communication. But if you think about it through the lens of what you can commit to versus what you can achieve, like if we just had to get stuff done, we could stay up, work hard, grind it, get it done. But that's not necessarily what we want to commit to. We don't want that to be our daily way of being. So, so when we talk about what we can commit to, we are thinking about what, like if we had our ideal schedule, our ideal week or day, like what does that look like? And also like what promise can we make about what we're going to be able to get done and accomplish in a week or a day, whatever the case may be. So your environment is also really important. So obviously, you know, so many of us are working from home, or we're working in different sort of situations than we have in the past. And that may, you know, maybe just working with what we've got. You know, I am very grateful to have a space in my home where I can have my own office, but I have lived in many apartments in New York City and have just had to work out of my bedroom or, you know, at the kitchen table. So whatever you do, when you set up your space for work or for whatever task or activity you're working towards, examine your space. Like, is it built for success? Is it built for limiting distractions? You know, are you able to be there relatively comfortably? So you know, from a working perspective, you obviously want to consider your, you know, your chair, your equipment, your lighting, making sure everything that you need is at your fingertips, that the temperature is good. Which I think at home that we can have a little bit more control over that than in an office is really nice, unless it's hot and you don't have AC, but hey. And you know, the other thing also is to change your environment. So I find that if I'm feeling stuck on something, changing the environment can be really helpful. So it can be re-energizing to move to a different part of the house, to sit in a different way, go to sit outside, like whatever I can do to sort of change my environment. That actually does trigger something in your brain. And so if you're feeling stuck on something, sometimes just moving to a different place can be really helpful. I didn't write it on here, but there's some focus, some things that you can use for focus as well. Like I have a white noise machine, which is helpful both for me, but also it signals to other people in my home that I'm not available to talk, as do sometimes closing the door or putting on my big headphones is usually like, don't bother me. So consider, there's like other kinds of like music and soundscapes and things that you can use as well. Transitioning with intention is also about and these taking productive breaks is kind of one and the same. So I like, since I'm at home all the time now, taking productive breaks, or if like, I know that I'm like pretty easily distracted. So if I plan to have a distraction, that makes sense, then that can be really helpful, and it can also help me shift my energy a little bit. So so I might plan to work on laundry during the day as part of my break. So my first break might be sorting the laundry, and then later on when I take another break, it might be throwing a load in the washing machine, or whatever productive break, if you opt to do this, should have a very distinct like container. So it's like, if I'm doing the dishes, it's like I'm just doing the dishes that are in the sink. That will take me 5 or 10 minutes. If I might do, one of my clients does micro exercises. So they'll do like a plank as a break in between, when they're transitioning from different activities. Or, also if you're looking for something that's a little bit more, that you might have had like in a more pre-COVID situation, like you could have a lunch or coffee date with a colleague or a friend during the day as well, which could be re-energizing too. And then like there's another way that you can sort of tap into your energy, and that is to do an energy audit. And that's just, you can kind of ask yourself these questions. I know that like a lot of us have seasonal energy shifts. So observing how your energy changes with the season is a really good starting point. So since we're in a seasonal transition now, once in the summer, I have a lot more energy, it's lighter, it's warmer, like those are all things that I really like. So so I really try to take advantage of that high energy to be really productive, because I know by the time I get to the winter, I'm going to want to be cozy. I'm not going to want to work as much. And the energy I have towards my work might be diminished. So, so those are things I know about from a seasonal perspective, but there's also like monthly energy shifts. I know there's actually people who work with, menstrual cycles and when's the best time to do things during the month, which I think is super cool. And that's something that I've read a lot about, but thinking about how your energy shifts during the month, during the week, and during the day. Also considering how much sleep you need. Like obviously the amount of sleep that we get is important to our overall energy. So, so consider how much sleep you need versus what you get. And then also like thinking about what times of the day you feel the most alert, the most in flow. I, for example, don't do any big, like schedule any big brain activities until like in the afternoon. I only do those in the morning. Some afternoons I'm feeling perfectly fine for it, but I can't plan on it. What kind of breaks do I take? How long do I take those breaks? What gets me back on track if I've felt distracted or my energy is shifted? And in general, kind of taking notice of mood shifts and your energy high and lows, what is distracting. Those are all things that you can be observing. I mean, you can track them daily if that's helpful for you. But I think if you track them for a few days and then kind of just like take notice of them through the month, you'll have a better idea of how you can best maximize your energy for for how you schedule your day, depending on how much control you have over meetings and things like that. But also like taking into account that that 4-hour window of how productive we can be in the day. 4 hours is not a lot of time, and so if I think about if you think about from a perspective of like what can I do in those 4 hours, that might be another way to look at how to focus your energy. So with that in mind, we all have the same 24 hours in a day. We don't all necessarily have the same resources, and we don't all have the same lifestyle and situation, but what can we do with what we have? So if you've ever successfully like manage the workload of more than just you at your job or at home, you know what it can feel like to have, that your time impressed on in different ways. But thinking in this way, this 24 hours in a day, has been really helpful to me personally when I feel overwhelmed, because I can estimate how long I spend on all my activities during the week, or or during the day, and then I can see where I have extra space or that I actually have overcommitted and I need to let something go. So if you think closely about the big picture of how you spend your time, even if you have to guess, you can just observe a little bit more closely those areas where you're more unsure. So I'm going to come pop out of this and show you this little calculator that I made that I will give you the link to. But this is a little thing I've made to better see what that time in a day looks like. So I started to fill it out a little bit. So I'm pretty analytical and nerdy, so so it's got a lot of information in here. So so I can say, like, I don't sleep 8 hours a night, but let's just say that I do, and that's 7 days a week, so that's 56 hours in the week. And actually what's kind of like was a little bit mind-boggling for me was that is a third of the week. Sleep is very important, but I just was like, 33% of the week is just sleeping. That's amazing and scary. And so, you can pop in all these different things for exercise, personal care, meals, housework, all these different kinds of things. And so, and in the calculator link I'll share with you, you're able to drop in other activities if there's something here that doesn't match what you've got. And so you can fill out all these things, and then at the end you'll be able to see what percentage of time, how many hours in a week, and then how much time there is. So here's like, there's 24 hours in a day, 168 hours in a week, and 720 hours in a month. And so this is just kind of spits out to you like how many hours you have left in the week. And so this can be a really good way to see like if there's areas where you're spending more time than you would prefer or less time, where you might be able to shuffle things around. So that's my little nerdy calculator I made. All right. So, like also in thinking about those 24 hours, like, are there areas where you can think of more abundance or areas where you need to be more conservative? And again, like have compassion for yourself. Don't compare yourself to others, because like, I know people who need 9 or 10 hours of sleep to feel their best, which is amazing. And like, I sleep 7 hours and sometimes less. And I feel fine on 7 hours if I'm getting that consistently. So, everybody's different, and that's okay. Like, there's no competition. You have to do what works best for you. All right, so getting organized and getting going. So you can avoid a lot of overwhelm by creating a plan, by setting milestones and actions with the things that you need to do. So what we want to do is break it down into the smallest components and actions. So when you've got a project, or whether that's a work project, a personal project, or something going on at home, we want to break that down into the milestones, which are like, what are the key things that are going to get you to that big goal, and the action steps. So see how they build on to one another. So you need to identify, like, crucially, you need to identify the next physical, visible action that you need to take, and define what done looks like what specifically are you trying to achieve. And also identify your obstacles. So what obstacles can you anticipate, and how can you plan for them now? Or like, how can you begin to think how you are going to overcome those obstacles when they come up? Delegate, defer, outsource, ask for help. So this is really good if if work has been put on you. So whether that is at home or at work, clarify the priorities with a manager. Ask, how important is it? Because it may require adjusting the plan, and the more you can communicate about that, the more you can all be on the same page. Finding ways to capture your ideas and thoughts. So I'm gonna go through a mind map with you in a second. So this can really help if you're feeling anxious. Likewise, so can clearing your head before bed. So I like to write down anything that's on my mind before bed. Usually it's just the list for the next day, and it really helps to keep keep my anxiety down and help me. Sometimes actually like my subconscious like goes to work on it in the night, and then in the morning I've come up with some solutions for things, which is great when that happens. And then delaying procrastination is all about, you know, the things that like hang over our head and keep coming up are usually there because we haven't defined them well enough. So, so this is all about like, the more you can, again, like break it down, define exactly what you're trying to do, the more successful you can be with this. And then choosing your tools and experiment. So are you using a planner, apps, pen and paper? Like try out some different things and see what works. But whatever you do, like don't let your systems become a distraction. I know people who've been like, who've taken a long time to just get ready to do whatever they set out to do, feeling like they need to get more and more prepared. But doing literally anything frees us from having to do everything. So like to make progress, we have to start somewhere, right? So start anywhere, just start now. So don't spend too much time trying to get prepared. Do something that will start to move you forward. All right, so here we go. This is a quick look at what that milestone to big goal looks like. So this is great for goals, but also for projects. So you've got your big goal, you identify what your milestones are and what the action steps needed to reach each milestone are. So this is what you can do to help you, like this just a little visualization to help you break down those ideas. From a mind mapping perspective, there's software you can do for this. I actually like to do this as a handwritten creative exercise, but this is a really great way to let that brain swirl loose. Like so many of us don't write things down. We just let them like swirl in our head and make us feel crazy. So instead, like get some paper, get some markers and colored pencils or anything that you have and throw it all down. So like this one, I just specifically put together for like a career change, because when we're looking for work, looking for a job, changing things up, there's a lot of things that are a factor, because we can think, oh, I need to like look, you know, I need to fix my resume, I need to you know, do some networking, I need to do some job searching, like look at the job boards. Like those are actually like all lots of little things that need to happen within each of those categories, right? So, so doing this kind of thing can really help to clarify all those things, get all of that stuff out of your head. And I can't, like, it's so important to let that stuff, like, get it out of your head. Don't let it sit in there. So, like, do this until you can't think of anything else. And you don't have to do it so specifically. It can be for your life in general. It could be for your job. It could be for your business, whatever you're working towards. You can use this mind mapping idea towards it. You can also just like write it all down in a sort of list style. I like this because it helps me see the different categories. And then there's 3 types of to-do lists that I personally use that I think can be really helpful. And so I know it seems like having 3 lists seems crazy, but let's just bear with me for a second. So a daily list should be specific, actionable, and minimal. So this can be a big, like your big 3, like your big 3 things to accomplish in the day, or your most important thing, which is what MIT stands for. Your weekly to-do list is curated. It can have a broader intention. It's kind of similar to a project plan. It has a suite of related objectives that are put into bite-sized actions and geared towards hitting milestones. So I like them for projects and business related things. And then you have like a monthly or like ongoing collection parking lot. So that's where everything else goes. So this is when you just have things that come up, you know, that you just think of when you're in the shower or something and you need a place to put it, like that goes on this monthly list. So it may not be that all this stuff is getting done in the month. It may or may not, but it is a place to put all of your thoughts. So I've just all of these little templates I'm about to show you, I'm going to give you a link so you can have all of these. So I'm not going to spend too much time digging into them because they look exactly like this. So, so this is an example of some of what you'll see for the daily to-do list. It's just drilling down to the most important tasks that will allow you to practice and improve your prioritization skills. You're going to use action-oriented language. So you want to make sure that you are not that you're more precise with your language. So mom b-day is not specific, but what needs to happen is like order flowers for mom's birthday, buy a card, send a card. Flu shots, like I need to call the doctor's office at the appointment, I need to arrange time off work. Taxes I threw on there because it feels very easy and specific, but actually it's a project because we need to collect all the tax documents. We need to do all the different things that involve taxes. So that is not an actionable item. And the more action words and specificity we can use especially in this daily to-do list, the more success we'll have, because it tells our brain exactly what we're trying to do, as opposed to asking our brain to figure out what we mean by electrician. Okay. I'm going quickly now because so much, and I want to make sure we have time for questions. All right. So this is the to-do list number 2. So you can have a themed week with a set intention or smaller task towards a project. So this example number 1 is all geared towards like content creation. And example number 2 is a multi-week view for a big project. Again, if you've done anything in project management or use any project management software, it's kind of like that idea. I actually usually just handwrite this stuff when I do it for myself. I'm very analog with all of these things, so I actually handwrite everything. That is my personal preference, but you can also use, I know people who like to use like Trello and Asana and Airtable and things like that to organize these kinds of ideas. And then your monthly parking lot, you can categorize it. So my own personal one, I have like a business one and I have a home one, and you can create a couple of categories. I wouldn't create too many, but a couple categories that fit to your life. And this is a great place to put those like do laters as they come up. And next, you know, like generally, just like whenever you're capturing the information, just like do whatever systems work well for you and be consistent. Like what my capture systems are not as organized as I would like at the moment. I'm kind of converting everything to Evernote. So I'll capture something and then I'll throw it into Evernote. I like that especially for these ongoing ideas, I like that I have a place that I can search what I'm looking for. But I also use a lot of pen and paper, as I said. So prioritization matrices. So we are naturally really good at prioritizing when there's an acute urgency, but when we're trying to balance work, home, personal needs, things get a little bit murky. So the point of these matrices that I'll show you is to get clarity on all the things on your list. And in some cases, you can use these as your list if that works for you. So these are to help you answer what thing do I do first, because it can't, unfortunately, it can't all be important at the same time, even if it feels like it is. So, so I have 3 types I'm going to show you. One I wasn't even going to include, but I just threw it on there. So one is about good geared towards projects and big picture type of stuff. And the other one is tasks and like more highly actionable kinds of things. So the examples I'm going to show you show the same items, but laid out differently. So this one is great for organizing projects. We have our high and low impact across the top and our need and want on the bottom. So, so in this example, all of these are personal finance related. And so we can see here that like we can see what's going to make the biggest impact. And one of the things that's really interesting in personal finance stuff is that there's some things that are specifically urgent, but not everything needs to be done right now. And so it becomes really easy to push stuff off, which you'll see on the next slide. So here, you know, on the high impact, it's like setting up savings accounts and retirement accounts and working on taxes and updating the budget. So those are need to do's and they have a high impact. So that would be the thing that this person wants to tackle first. The top right and the bottom left are kind of equal standing depending on you know what you feel, but you know, need but has a low impact, or want and has a high impact. And then the bottom right hand corner is going to be your low impact want. So that might be something you consider deferring or outsourcing or getting rid of potentially if it's in that category. Again, I'm going to give you all these templates so you'll be able to look at them more closely and spend more time with them. So the prioritization matrix number 2 is great for organizing your general task and to-dos and ideas. And so you've got your time sensitivity along the top and your need and want along the side. And so when we look at the same tasks through this framework, we see that now a lot of things are in that non-urgent but need category, which is what I was saying with a lot of the personal finance stuff can often be in that section because it is important, but it's not important right this very second. Unlike like updating the budget with the new job information is important right now. And the nice thing about this matrix number 2 is that it is pretty actionable. So if you were to use this one for all those things that are flowing through your mind of things that need doing, it can really provide a lot of clarity around those tasks. And then this one, which originally I wasn't going to put in here, is putting the impact against the time. And this might be good for projects as well, or for bigger picture type of activities. So in this situation, all of these personal finance things are now in the bottom, which starts to make them feel very unimportant. So in this case, for this client, it wasn't very helpful for him to see it this way, because it took away all the urgency and the sort of excitement that he had around those activities. And then these are the sort of top tips that I have. So there's a lot here, but basically what you need to know is for quick progress, here are some things that you can, like these top tips are all things that are meant for you to be able to implement like ASAP, because they don't require really any setup. So, so 2-minute rule. So if it's something that you can do in 2 minutes, just do it. Like, don't worry about scheduling to do it later. So sometimes, like, this is really great for emails. Like, if you know you're gonna have to respond to that person and it's just gonna be a quick email, just do it right away, because it's gonna haunt you for no reason later. So anything that you can do in like 2 minutes, go ahead and do it. Touch once. So this is really great if you're organizing or cleaning. Once you pick it up, you have to find a place for it, or you have to take care of it. So, and you can't touch the next thing until you take care of that one thing. So do anything at all. We talked about that already. So that's just like literally do anything. One push-up, like, you know, one email, one phone call, one, like whatever thing is going to start to get that momentum building. How to start. So we talked a little bit about the most important things. So just focus on that one thing. And to be clear, like obviously all of these things you're not doing all at the same time. These are just like little tips that you can take away. So one easy or quick task for momentum building, which is kind of that like do anything at all idea. Time blocking. You can schedule everything. Some people really like having everything scheduled and putting that in your calendar. So that might be something that works well for you. Setting routines, mindful exclusion, that is basically setting boundaries. Setting digital boundaries. So I use a lot of email filtering, which is helpful because like all I get into my inbox is the stuff that I want to read or that I need to read, and everything else I can go look for. So that includes, you know, anything I get from stores, subscriptions to newsletters, like all of those things are filtered. And so mostly all I get in my inbox is direct emails, which is really great and helpful. And it also helps me realize the stuff that I don't really need to be subscribed to. Curated browser windows. I don't know if anybody else does this, but I have, I know it's really easy to have a million tabs, and that really bothers me. So I have, I'll have like maybe 3 or 4 different browser windows, and then I will curate those. So like I'll have one that's just like my email inbox and my calendar. And so it's just that like those important things. And I'll have another one that's maybe if I'm like looking for recipes, maybe I have a browser window that's got a bunch of tabs for recipes. And that helps me just like kind of close that window down, and then I'm done with that one thing. Multiple email addresses, which can be a little bit hairy sometimes, but can be useful for certain, depending on how you need to separate what's in your inbox. Browsers, multiple browsers. So I have, this is actually a really good one. The browsers are the computer logins. So if you have if you get distracted by social a lot on your computer, you can use a browser that is not connected to anything. So, so I have a browser that is not logged into any of my anything, like it's so I can use that one if one, I don't want to be followed by ads, or two, if I don't want to get distracted by other things but I still need access to the internet. Similarly with computer logins, for a while I was working on a writing project and I had a different login to my laptop that I just used for writing. And so I wasn't logged into anything there either. I could use the internet if I needed to research something, but I couldn't access any of the stuff that is easy to kind of get me off track. For clarity, so you can have theme weeks, we talked about that, parking lot and someday lists, breaking things into the smallest tasks and identifying those milestones and action steps. And a couple just miscellaneous things are, you know, doing one thing at a time and avoiding multitasking, having productive distractions, calling on your accountability crew, like, you know, who's in it with you, who can support you, but also like, you know, and feel free to use the chat if this is helpful for you, but like I've done things where I've just been on Zoom calls with people where we kind of check in and say hello, and then we just each get to our own work. And so it's nice having somebody there. And there's actually an app thing for that, productivity partner or something like that. I might be wrong, somebody probably knows, where you basically, you set an appointment with somebody and you do whatever, you know, you kind of say what your intention is and you work together for an hour or 2 hours, and then you kind of check in at the end, and then you go about your business. And that can be a really great way to hold it accountable to whatever you're working on. All right, so I went really quickly, but I want to make sure that for those of you who are sticking around that we have time for some Q&A. So what will you do with what you learned today? I don't want you to learn, like, to lose any time or momentum on any of the things that you're working towards. So, you know, please take some time to sit down and cultivate consistency, experiment, and see what works for you. Like, I would love to challenge you to identify one tip, idea, or system that you can and will try out this week. And if you want to drop that in the chat, I would love to see what you guys are thinking about and what you might take away. I also have some systems and tools that make some of these things easier. Again, I'm going to share the links to the templates. I'll share them in the chat in a minute once I get out of this presentation, but I'll also do a follow-up email with you this week. But keep on doing the work, you know, like, again, like, productivity is a practice, and we have to just keep working towards it to get better at it. And so we're going to pop into Q&A. And if you are, you know, interested in connecting with me, definitely, here's all my Instagram and LinkedIn and website and all that kind of stuff. And, you know, if you're interested in learning more about, you know, how you can help hold yourself accountable to your goals and things, I'd love to talk to you. And I'm going to get out of here. Oh, and there's some things that I have coming up. I've got 2 webinars coming up with General Assembly, how to stay unstuck at the end of the month, and also you and your money. And then I'm doing a group goals course that's going to be launching next month. And I also, for Ladies Get Paid, I have some discounts on coaching and coaching sessions. And this link down here, Asia Marsh at productivity or whatever, I can't talk, asiamarsh.com, productivity resources. I'm trying to find my chat thing now. Where is it? That's where you can find all the templates. Where's my chat? There we go. All right. Here's where you can find that's the link I just dropped in the chat for the templates and different things, and a lot of other resources that I've got for you there. And if you've got some questions, go ahead and drop them in, or you can pop off of mute and we can do it that way. Focus Mate, that's what it's called. Thank you, Samantha. Under managing your energy, a set of routine, a menu of options. So the menu of options is like what you are allowing yourself to do during certain times of the day. I realize now I didn't talk about this. So, so I am someone who, like, routine is good, but that doesn't always work best for me personally. So, but having some sort of structure is important. So one of the things that I implement is kind of having a menu of what I'm allowed to do. So for example, in the morning, in the first hour that I wake up, I am allowed to journal, meditate, or exercise. That gives me three different kinds of, like three different levels of energy that I can expend. I might be able to do all three of those things in the first hour of the day, but it also leaves me to do what feels right in the moment. And so that's one of the things that I like about that. And so you can choose to do, you know, say like that, what you might do in the beginning of the day, or like what I'm allowed to do during my breaks, or, you know, and that also is a way of creating boundaries and creating containers for your energy. So so I find that really useful. So you might say like, you know, during my breaks, I'm not allowed to check social because it you know, distracts me too much, and then it takes me an hour to get back on track. But I am allowed to, you know, read articles or, you know, whatever you choose. So so that's kind of what that menu of options is about. Yes. Too much routine and structure makes me want to procrastinate. Yes, me too. So I think when I give myself like some ideas of like what's allowed, that really is helpful. Just like that sort of productive distraction of like, well, I really want to get the laundry done, but I also need to do work. But I can do both if I sort of think about it a little bit ahead of time. What else you got? What else you got? I'm gonna drop some more, all of these things in here. Um, So I just dropped a bunch of links in there for you. There were a couple of questions that were really great that I got through, now where are they? Through the Eventbrite, and I've lost them. But there were a couple of, ooh, okay, good. How do you make yourself do a task you are really resisting? So here's a couple things you can ask yourself. Do I have everything, like what is holding me back from doing it? Do I have everything I need? So I realize that resisting is not always procrastinating, but they often go hand in hand. So do I have everything that I need to do the thing? So for example, it could be, you know, I need to paint my wall. So it's like, do I have the paint? Yes or no? Okay. Do I have the supplies? What do I need to do to be ready? Like, do I need to get a drop cloth? Do I need to tape off the room? Like, so sometimes it's like breaking it down into like the most small steps that feel ridiculous, but it will like get you a little bit closer. So if I need to paint the wall, which like I don't feel excited about doing, it's like, can I gather all the supplies? Then all my supplies are in one place. All right, I've made some progress. You know, can I start to tape off the wall? So those little things can be a way to work towards work towards something that you don't like to do or that you don't feel excited about. Sometimes gamifying things can really help. In the past, I haven't liked doing things like, you know, doing the dishes or whatever. It feels like it takes forever, and especially things we don't like seem to take forever. So I would like put on some fun music, or I would say like, okay, I only have to do it for 5 minutes, and once the timer goes off, I can be done. And so sometimes like doing that can be really helpful. Maybe I'm still will have to finish the dishes later, but for 5 minutes, I like did as much as I could, and maybe I even got them done. The pandemic created a lot of job stress in my current role. How do you move past complete overwhelm, brain fog, and general lack of motivation? I was an academic overachiever too, but now I'm sometimes too exhausted to put in the effort even on the small things. Yes, so that's fair. I mean, I think in some parts, you know, you have to hold a lot of like space to be kind to yourself, which I know is hard because I know we're being told that a lot, to like be kind and gentle, but the world is not kind and gentle right now, and also like shit still has to get done, right? So so it is difficult in that regard, but I think from an overwhelm perspective, that's why I think why I like doing those brain dumps, or even journaling, or like whatever I can do to like get out of my head somewhat, and not for it not to have to like look cute or whatever. So whether that is typing it out or just like scrawling it onto a scrap piece of paper, that can help just at least get some of those things out of our heads. And I think the more we can do to like not let it just sit in there, the better. And for lack of motivation, I mean, it is difficult because I think, like I said, even though we're not always going to feel motivated, I think especially at our jobs, it's nice to feel interested in our jobs at least some of the time. And I like when I have felt disinterested at certain jobs, I try to think about like what is the good that I'm doing if I am, or what is like what can I focus on. So like I've been the sort of like right hand to people quite a few times, and so I think about like I'm supporting this person in doing their best job at their job, or in running this company or running this department, and sometimes if I like that person, like sometimes that is a helpful way to stay kind of connected in that way, or feel a little bit more like I can get through the day at least. There were also a couple of comments on the Eventbrite login, where somebody asked about productivity tips around ADHD and productivity tips around depression. And I found some great links that I'm just going to drop in here in case anybody's interested in those. I think that there are, I tried to include some of the ideas when we, like throughout the presentation, but those are some there for you as well. And yes, all right. What other questions? You're welcome to come off mute or come on video if you want. I have to streamline my to-do list because I get overwhelmed. Yes, so the idea, like using the prioritization matrix can help with at least like better defining what's going on, better, like I don't know where your overwhelm comes from, Patrice, but like for me, the overwhelm often comes from feeling like there's too many things to do and not knowing where to start, or not knowing what things are the most important. So I like using that matrix because it makes it more clear where to begin, essentially, or what you can sort of let go of for a while. So that's one thing that you can do. And then again, like, if you can, with the daily to-do list, like early on in lockdown, I was so good at making a to-do list that was like, had like 3 things on it. At the end of the day, I felt amazing because I got them all done. And I also didn't feel overwhelmed because energetically and emotionally, there was so much that I was like, I don't even know if I can get through the whole day. So only putting a couple things on the to-do list was really great for all of those reasons. So so see if you can just like, see if you can take your to-do list and just focus on the either like those top three things, or those most important things. And you can always go back to your like master list if you've accomplished things and are feeling full of pep and want to continue. All right, Samantha. What if your job or place of work does not allow you to or respect boundaries, and instead piles on unreasonable amounts of work beyond what can be completed in the numbers of hours a day and beyond your energy? Also, job does not provide proper work from home tools to allow for productivity. Well, Samantha, that sounds super rough, and I'm sorry that you're going through that. And under normal circumstances, I might just say like, dump it. But obviously, for lots of reasons, that may not be an option for you at this time. So, I mean, I think if you can have a frank conversation with your supervisor, or an HR person, or somebody that you can see if there's a way to better identify what the priorities are, and also like, I mean, on one hand, I would say like, if they can't respect your boundaries, then they, even if the boundaries are reasonable, then that's its own problem. And I think we've all, like, I mean, I've certainly worked in places that have not been very healthy in that regard, and ultimately, like, that's gonna you're gonna want to leave there if you don't already. So I mean, so I don't know, depending, like, without knowing a lot more about your situation, it's hard, but I think the more that you can start, like, communicate what you have to do, the more important, the, like, hopefully the better off you'll be. And also, like, are they gonna find anybody who's gonna do what they're asking? Like, is there someone who would come in and just say, like, I got all of this? Because I think that that's the situation that is like, oh, well, we can't, we would have to hire 2 people to do your job. That's when you know that they've been taking advantage of you. So I think the more you can do to have those conversations, the better, even if it's a bit uncomfortable, or to just say, like, I can either do this or I can do this, but I cannot do all of these things. Okay. Oh, Samantha, you said more. Okay. Typically, when this happens, I end up leaving things aside, brings up a lot of anxiety that those tasks will bubble up again, and they typically do. Yeah, I mean, I think the more you can, yeah, again, communication is key all the time. And, you know, the things that I've learned as I've gone through different jobs, and different levels of respect for boundaries and expectations, especially small businesses where everybody's doing a lot of things, and you know, or startup type environments where everybody's kind of asked to kind of overcommit. I found that the better I can, like, set myself up when I take on a new role, or take on, or when we kind of enter a new phase and say, like, hey, like, this is what I need, or this is what's possible, or here's the conversations that we need to have more regularly. I get a better sense of, like, what's on the mind of the managers and the supervisors, and what is, because they may not realize it. Like, so when I've worked for someone who owns the business, they will spend literally all their time working on the business. It's their business. Like, they'll do it, you know, but they shouldn't expect me to work 80 hours a week because they do. And so, but they don't always see that. So it's finding that balance. The other thing that I've done, in the, not in the past, but just in my mind, it's like, I've worked in an organization where a lot of people had kids, and so they would, like, well, it was an international organization, and in the UK office, not everybody, a lot of people had kids and families and all these things that they had to, like, leave at like 3 and 4 o'clock every day, or they only, you know, were in 4 days a week, and all of us in the New York office, none of us had kids, none of us were married, so we were just all like, well, we'll just, like, work whenever, I guess. And so it kind of was really helpful to me, to think, like, what if I just, like, acted like the people who had kids? What if I was just like, it's 4, I gotta go, you know, like, I got my dog, whatever, you know, like, and so it's like, no one, you know, so it's like, it's okay if you gotta go pick your kid up from school or whatever, but if you don't have that excuse, then you just have to work more. Like, that doesn't seem fair. So I think sometimes it's just about, like, adopting a slightly different mentality, similar to, like, taking breaks. You know, I'd always get kind of jealous of people who would get to take smoke breaks, and I would, like, you know, I'm like, well, I don't smoke, so I guess I don't get to take, like, a 10-minute break every hour and a half. So it's like, well, can I just do that? So I think it's just a little bit about changing your mindset and your approach a little bit. And ultimately, you know, one of the things that is maybe relevant now in lots of ways, but is that kind of like, what would a white man do? I think that's always a good thing to ask. It's just a filter to pass things through. All right. So Samantha, I hope Samantha, that things, you know, improve, at your workplace, and that communication is useful. Yes, vacations. Okay. Okay, Vina, I've definitely felt called on to fill in on evenings and weekends since I'm unmarried and don't have kids. I had to have a conversation with my boss about feeling like I was taken advantage of, and reiterating that I also need breaks. I mean, yes, like, listen, having children and pets and whatever, it's all, like, or not, like, all personal choices, and everybody should, you know, like, having kids is hard. I don't have any, that's why. Um, but like, you know, I, like, you know, we all deserve breaks. We all deserve, you know, to work what we agreed to work when we started our job, and to have equal access to all those things. So, you know, I just keep standing up for yourself. It's really important. And if you don't do it, no one, I mean, it's rare that someone will do it for you. So, so make sure that you communicate your needs. Oh, my favorite question. Would a mediocre white man feel shame about saying this? Oh man, I'm gonna borrow that one. That's awesome. By the way, this stuff works on all kinds of people. My brother just got who is a black man, um, just got a job offer, and he passed it all through me before he like accepted it. And I was like, I think you should ask for more money. What would Chad do? Um, and and he got more money. It worked. It was great. It was like, I was like, all you gotta do is ask. So um, so that was awesome because he's like, the offer's already really good. Like, it's a really good offer. I was like, just ask for more. The most they can say is no. So no big deal. They obviously really want you to work there, so no big deal. um, what would I do? Yes. So yeah, what other questions or thoughts or feelings? This is fun. I much prefer just like seeing people's faces and like answering questions. Cookie, you're welcome. Under get organized and get going, you had delayed procrastination. Yes, sorry, you did ask that earlier and I missed it because I talked about Chad too long. Okay, so the recording, yes, Katie, the recording, Claire or somebody from Ladies Get Paid will be sending out the recording probably tomorrow or maybe the next day, and then I will send you an email with all of these resources and more. But delay procrastination, yes. So that is, am I still, no, okay. Let me find that slide. Get organized and get going. So delay procrastination, that is kind of like piggybacks on some of the other things that I've talked about, but basically this is really about like getting specific and all of this, really like detailing out as much as possible, breaking things down into like the smallest, most actionable, most physical, visual tasks. So we often feel procrastinated, or we often procrastinate because our brain is like in conflict with what we feel we should just innately understand. So so our you know, our thing will say like with the painting the wall, I'll use a different example. Give me something you're procrastinating. I need a real example, Courtney, if you're still around, or anybody. Um, so it's like breaking it down as much as possible is going to be the most helpful thing for you, in terms of, oh, building out webinar class. Thank you, Courtney. So, oh, writing a cover letter. Okay, well, we're gonna stick with building out the webinar class because it's like more like has specific tidbits, right? So we need to outline what the class is going to be, right? Like basic outline. Do we know what it's called? Let's start there. I'll give you an example of me doing this one because it's exactly like, you know, maybe not exactly the same thing, but more or less. So so I had an idea of what I was going to do, and then I wrote like a two sentences about like a description of it. And this is actually how you can write a book, by the way, too. So what's it called? What's the like synopsis, basically? And then, so I need to do that. Then I've like written the synopsis, okay? And then it's like, okay, now can I write like a paragraph about what we're gonna cover in the webinar? So, you know, or maybe it's just bullet points of like, here are the key things I wanna cover. And then from there, I can build my actual outline. So that might be another step. And then a further step would be to build the slide deck. And so often when I'm doing that, I will like throw like my ideas on a slide deck and it doesn't look cute and it's just there. And then I'll just start piecing it together. The more you like start building, like in this example, the more you start building it out, then the easier it is to do the big thing, because the webinar class is not just like, poof, webinar is happening. I mean, maybe like when you're that good, I guess. I haven't got there yet. You know, but you have to kind of think about what are the key things that need to happen. So breaking it down like to the most small pieces, because ultimately you have to know what all the little parts are, because it's all little pieces, right? It's not just like you sit down and it's all done. Like you have to do all these little components. And I think that's one of the things where we get procrastinated is partially because, yes, micro steps. Yes, you can defer to one mini step instead of procrastinating. Thank you. So succinct. So yes, so you can do that. And that's a really good way to just like break it down into just those like smallest little pieces. Samantha, I'm not going to teach a class on writing a book using this strategy. I only know this because I read it that you can do that, and because I was working on a book, and I was looking at different ways to do that, and they're just basically like, what's the name of your book? And then it was like, what's on the back of the book? And then like, what's on the dust jacket? And then like keep building it out from there. And then it's like, what's the first chapter? Or like, what's the, like what's someone going to say in a review? Like those kinds of things. And it was really helpful way to get started, at least. I didn't get into the whole thing of like how you do it for actually writing the book part. I haven't finished the book. Let's see. Get your space organized and try a new project management tool as procrastination tactics. Yes. So in my get and set your goals class webinar that I did a couple weeks ago, I talk a lot about how we like will be forever getting our shit together in order to do the thing that we want to do, because it feels like, oh, well, if I just like do this best organization thing, or if I just clean my desk or just do these things, then I'll be ready to do the thing. And we have to be really cautious of that, because it's false productivity, right? So, and I do it too, because like I said, I made a Gantt chart for my life last year, partially because I didn't know what to do, and I felt like I had too many things going on, and I was like, what if I just like project managed my whole life? And it was very pretty, and it was like a sort of distraction, but ultimate, and it was helpful for like 2 weeks, and then I never looked at it again. So, like, I think you have to, it's good to experiment and it's good to try different things. But I think you have to sort of like adopt this like fail faster mentality, where you are not, you're not caught up in like this like having to work. So it's like, let me just try it and see if it works. So I've done this several times over the past few weeks. I've like used Evernote to lay out certain things. I've written stuff down. I've used Asana. I put a bunch of stuff in Asana, but I didn't like build it out for weeks and weeks. I built it out for like 2 weeks. I was like, let me see if I ever even come back and look at this. And I did not. So it was fun to do it, and that's okay. It's good to have like enjoy yourself. But I think, like give yourself a sort of limit of either of time or and if you don't use it, you don't use it. Like, don't beat yourself up about it. If you're like, okay, like I don't actually use Airtable, I wanted to like it, but it's not convenient for me to log into it, or I just get like, I have fun just like dropping stuff into different places and not actually like acting on it. So so I think you have to do like the least that is going to help you move forward, and not feel like everything has to like be cute. It doesn't need to be cute. I'll show you what I use. I have, here's my real project management tool. So I have this, I did the matrix thing, and it's on a clipboard on a piece of like scrap paper that was like old printer paper. And that's like my business to-do list. So it's exactly what you saw on the, I do it too. And then I have like a daily to-do list. I don't have one right here, that I write. That's just like, here's my few things that I'm gonna do today. Or, on my overambitious days, which is most days, it's like, it's a lot of stuff, but I usually put like my personal stuff at the bottom. So if I have to like, call the electrician, which is like a real example, then that's there. So, and then all my work stuff is at the top. Bullet journaling, Samantha. Yes. So I'm really glad you mentioned bullet journaling, because a couple years ago I was obsessed. I was obsessed with watching all the YouTube videos of people bullet journaling. I never actually did it, but I was just like, I just love watching it, and it feels so organized. And I was like, I will never do that, even though it appealed to me so strongly, because you have to set the whole thing up. And I was like, I'll just get into setting it up and then I'll exhaust myself. Um, Courtney, a Gantt chart is a project management tool. It's a spreadsheet basically with colors. It's pretty. And you like timelines, and so you say like, here's, it's meant for projects, not really meant for your life, but if you are nerdy, you can do that if you want. Okay, yeah, bullet journaling, man, so cool. Uh, I mean, if you're ever bored and you want to feel productive, or you want to feel productive through other people, you can just go watch people's bullet journal YouTube videos. There was a point where I had to just like stop myself. I was like, you cannot just like watch bullet journal videos on YouTube for like 5 days in a row. You have to do some stuff with your life. Either make a bullet journal or move on, basically. Yes, you are welcome, Courtney. Ooh, astrology. Okay. I'm gonna find out more about that. What else you got? Oh, cover letter. Vina, is it Vina? Did I remember that? Are you gonna do it? Do you know what to do? Have you broken it down into all the steps? Okay, good. Um, okay, good. Yeah, get it done, Vina. No excuses. I'm gonna check up on you. I have everybody's email address, so. How's that cover letter? Um, okay. Yeah. Do you have a list for cover letter steps? I'm sorry, Kookie, I do not have. I'm sure there's like 5 million things you could find on Google about it. I have not, as you have heard if you were here for my intro, followed a traditional career path. So I haven't had to write that many cover letters that, like, yeah, they've all been a little bit unconventional, which I think is actually maybe not a bad thing at this point, because I I hear lots of differing things about like, don't write a cover letter, but then a lot of places ask for one. So like, I guess I still need to write one, even if they say don't. I don't know. It's confusing. So stand out, because a cover letter is the only opportunity you have to express your personality if you're forced to write one. So, um, yes, Lorraine, choose the smallest things with the most reward when it comes to tools and organizing. Um, yeah, I mean, sometimes that's the way. I think a lot of times you just have to like kind of go with the path of least resistance. See, Vina's coming with the cover letter tips. Thank you. Like, it's not my purview. All right, guys, I'm gonna wear myself out if I keep talking, but I'm happy answering more questions if there's any more questions. You're also welcome to hit me up on Instagram. I'm there the most, but LinkedIn's also good, or you can email me, which is also great. And I honestly really enjoy talking to all of you and seeing like 3 of your faces at a time, and and answering all your questions. You know, I don't get out much now. It's COVID, so it's nice to talk to people. So we'll do it again sometime. I will be emailing you all soon with some other stuff that's going on that I got coming up, and hopefully I'll see y'all around. Have a good night wherever you are. Bye.